for Bill Clinton was executed in 1997 in Starbucks coffee shop. According to press reports, she was about to go public with sexual harassment accusations against the White House.
Johnny Lawton came across a cashier's check in 1997 in the amount of $27,000, made out to Bill Clinton from Madison Guaranty, cashed but not endorsed. This potential Whitewater witness was found dead in the trunk of a car at a junkyard.
James McDougal, former Whitewater partner of the Clintons, died in solitary confinement in 1998, less than 24 hours before he was to testify against the Clintons before a grand jury.
Neil Moody, the stepson of Lisa Foster, widow of Vince Foster, died in a car crash in 1998 while carrying incriminating documents regarding the death of Vince Foster.
Presidential directives and executive orders.
Study the Constitution. Let it be preached from the pulpit, proclaimed in legislatures, and enforced in our courts of justice.
The words of Abraham Lincoln. Most educated Americans are aware that to pass a federal law with our form of government, there is a designated legal process. For new legislation to become law, it takes both the House of Representatives and the Senate to vote, with the majority on the proposed legislation, except in the case of international treaties where it takes a 2/3 vote to pass the treaty. This legislation is then sent to the President, who can do one of three things. He can veto the bill, he may refuse to sign the legislation, in which case after a set period of time this legislation becomes the law of the land, or he may sign the ordinance into enactment. If the President vetoes the bill, the House and Senate may overrule his veto with a 2/3 vote. Our founders specifically set up this process so that new legislation was carefully thought out and that there would be a separation of power. However, in this Byzantine time in which we live, the process of law has been completely ignored. On March 6, 1933, Franklin "the Wolf" Roosevelt issued Proclamation 2040, the War and Emergency Powers Act, which suspended the Constitution. He did so under the premise that he had to deal with the Depression, which his band of CFR cohorts had created in the first place. Roosevelt cited that Woodrow Wilson had proclaimed the War Powers Act of 1917 to deal with the First World War. After the war, this proclamation was repealed. It must be pointed out that neither President Roosevelt nor any other president has ever taken action to dissolve this proclamation. As the authors who have written the book, War and Emergency Powers, say,
the government edicts and actions over the past 6 decades have led us to the desperate state in which we find ourselves today. Besieged on every side, corroding from within, frightened, and in despair, we as a nation are being torn asunder.
With the War Powers Proclamation, Roosevelt and all following presidents have been issuing numerous executive orders, EOs. EOs are ordinances written by the president or his staff that become the de facto law of the land. There is no public debate, the House and Senate are totally left out of the proceedings, and the constitutional process is nothing but a memory. Some of the more dangerous EOs to our personal freedoms are EO 10995, the right to seize all media outlets in the United States. EO 10998, the right to seize all agricultural resources and food supplies, both public and private. EO 10999, the right to seize all personal automobiles and trucks. EO 11004, the right to seize your home, designate areas unsafe, and relocate citizens. EO 11501 gives FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the right to take complete authorization to enact the above orders and more in times of international tensions or financial crisis. This is truly an outrage and has created the framework for a dictatorial and tyrannical political onslaught. Paul Begala, one of President Clinton's top political advisors, had this to say after Clinton signed another EO.
Stroke of the pen, law of the land, kinda cool.
To Mr. Begala and all the other Beltway politicos, I can only ask,
do you really want to destroy our republic?
To all the other citizens, I say,
check it out for yourself, as it's up to us to restore the Constitution.
The American flag.
It is error alone which needs the support of government. Truth can stand by itself.
The words of Thomas Jefferson. Ask any third grader what are the colors of the American flag. Well, they'll tell you all in a confident voice, red, white, and blue. By law, this third grader is exactly correct because according to United States Code, Title IV, Sections 1 and 2, the flag is of only 3 colors, red, white, and blue. The red, white, and blue flag is the official symbol of the United States and of constitutional law. Symbols are very important to all of us, and it is this symbol for which many tens of thousands of American soldiers have fought and died for. Yet, if you look into almost any courtroom or political meeting room, you will see a flag with gold fringe, with different adornments on top of the flag mast. If you look to see what this fringe and these adornments mean, you will see in the Army Regulation Manual 840-10, dated October 1979,
Army regulations define the ceremonial or parade flags with gold fringe, the executive flag with an eagle, the recruiting flag with gold ball, and the court-martial flag with a golden spear point. The executive flag is authorized only by the express permission of the President.
As we walk into county courthouses, state courtrooms, and other political jurisdictions and see gold-fringed flags with spears, balls, or eagles on the mast, it is not unreasonable to ask what type of political rules these people are playing by. Clearly, in many places such as the school board, most elected officials are not aware of what these symbols mean. We hope that they will become aware. However, in other venues, this question takes on quite a bit of importance. Is this a military court? Is this a martial law court? Is this a court of admiralty? Remember, by the proclamation of FDR, the Constitution has been suspended. There have been several judges from around the country, both state and federal, that have ruled and commented on this very question. Most of their rulings have said that the very questioning of the gold-fringed flag and adorned mastheads in courtrooms could have any effect on their jurisdiction is frivolous and preposterous. I pray that what these judges are saying is correct and that we do have constitutional law. However, the question remains, if the law and statutes say one thing, why is it that the flags in these locations symbolize another standard? Chapter 3. None dare call it education.
The end of knowledge is wisdom. The end of culture is perfection. The end of wisdom is freedom. The end of education is character.
The words of Satya Sai Baba. It is particularly interesting that in our own American Pledge of Allegiance, it clearly states, "One nation under God." It is also interesting, though seldom taught, that one of the common denominators that many of our founding fathers shared was an unshakable faith in the Creator. Further, in the days when our country was young, our children would be homeschooled or go to small one-room schools, and the reading and study of the Bible was a staple of their education. Today, in American public schools, prayer of any type is outlawed, and the teachings of the Bible and of spiritual values is condemned by the educational power structure. It does not take a doctorate in anthropology to see that there is a connection between the cultural problems we are experiencing as a civilization and the fact that our people are not learning